My wife and I were married for 10 years. I was her first, and I thought, only sexual partner. We married at 22 years old, and when the story I'm about to tell you took place, we were 32. I was told she went on a vacation with her sister, but throughout the week she was gone. Her responses became weird and less frequent. I was already worried by the time she got back, and my fears were only confirmed by her very strange behavior. She said she didn't feel well, and this was right before COVID reached the US, so she made a doctor's appointment. After that one, she went to a second one, but wouldn't tell me what was going on. I was in the dark and cared about my wife. I wanted answers, so I decided to search her car for appointment summaries or anything that might give me some clues. In her car, I found an open STD test and a visit summary from her doctor that said she tested positive for herpes. I started shaking and didn't want to believe it. I sat in her car for a while, staring at the trees around me. I obviously couldn't sleep with my wife again. Then I got scared I already had it. I went to stay with my mom for a few days while I waited for my own test results. My wife barely noticed my absence because she was dealing with her own problems. Thank God my test results were clean. She didn't get it from me or give it to me. Now I could address the issue at hand. My wife had to face reality. I was already irritated that she didn't tell me anything about it. I had lots of questions, but they didn't really need answering. I didn't really need to know how she got herpes, only that she did, while she was on vacation with her sister. Her sister worked with her in the same office, which gave me an idea. I received an email invite to a work party, and attached to that email were all the emails of her coworkers and bosses. I emailed everyone a picture of my wife's diagnosis, with a text that said my wife brought home a present from vacation. The response was astounding. Before my wife realized what I did, her sister called me. She asked what was going on, and I told her all about it. She admitted that she wasn't with my wife the whole time they were gone. At first, she thought I was being really unfair by sharing my wife's private issue with her work crew, but after I vented to her about it and brought up the impending divorce, she sided with me. Just then, my wife came outside and banged on the car window. She looked furious and terrified. She screamed and cried inaudible words. I got out of the car, and she started hitting me, but stopped when I told her she cheated on me. She couldn't keep it together. She was overwhelmed and probably hadn't even let the reality of her STD or infidelity sink in. I told her she cheated on me while on vacation and got herpes. She betrayed me, and now I would never sleep with her again. She cried breathlessly, tried saying sorry, tried saying she used protection, but none of it mattered, and I think she knew that. She went back inside the house, defeated after I told her to pack her stuff. Her sister came over because she was on the phone for some of our confrontations. She helped her pack and calmed her down by talking about the future she could have. All the motivation left her when she tried to go to work. She received so much backlash and shame for what she did to me. Whether it was to her face or notes left on her desk, she was insulted, called out, and slandered. She only worked for one day after vacation before quitting. Her sister's been really quiet, and as far as I know, she still lives with her. It wouldn't surprise me if she quit dating for a while or even had trouble forgiving herself. I know I lucked out and dodged a bullet by doing my own investigation and separating myself from her while I figured out what I needed to know. I hope she uses protection and tells people about her diagnosis and cheating habits. OP, I am so sorry your wife completely disrespected you and spat on your trust. She'll have trouble living this mistake down. You were a trusting husband that let her go on vacation without you in good faith. She took advantage of you by sleeping with another man, and it's only karma that she got an STD. I am so glad she didn't try to seduce you upon her return before you knew what was happening. You really did dodge a bullet with this one. I'm glad to hear she couldn't hide her diagnosis and had to face the shame she deserved for betraying her husband. Any woman who believes she needs another man to love her needs a serious reality check. Love is designed to be true between two people that openly communicate and choose to love the other no matter what. Quite the opposite of taking advantage of the trust your spouse gives you. I wish you the best of luck. You absolutely did the right thing and acted on your wisdom to figure out what was going on. Thank you for sharing your story. Now, let's get into today's second story. Last Valentine's Day with my wife, 33, was the end of our 7-year marriage. She was supposed to get off work at 5, but at 4:50 she texted me to say her aunt has a date for Valentine's, and since she has trouble finding dates, she felt obligated to babysit her kids for her. I'd 40, said that was fine, and I could meet her there. She told me that wouldn't be necessary. Her aunt was weird about having men at her house because her children were in recovery from their abusive father, who had been out of the picture for some time now. This conversation really bummed me out, but I figured if my wife could be so self-sacrificing on this romantic day, then I could too. For an hour, I believed my wife's story, but then she posted a status update that gave her location. She thought ahead and made it so neither I nor our mutual friends could see her post, but she forgot about one person. Her 15-year-old cousin, the girl she was supposed to be babysitting. She actually messaged me to ask how I was doing and gave me some disconcerting news. She showed me the screenshot of my wife's status and location, which said she was having a wonderful Valentine's Day at an upscale restaurant. Her cousin was one heck of a snoop and knew something was amiss because my wife didn't tag me or include a picture of her and I together like she always did. Due to the inconsistencies, she decided to show me. She didn't know that my wife used her as a lie in the babysitting ruse, but I left that part out and just thanked her. I checked the family locator app, which we both never thought about since we were always together, and my wife's cell phone was no longer at the restaurant. She was in a neighborhood. I decided to see what other snooping I could manage, so I messaged one of my wife's coworkers on Facebook. She didn't hesitate to tell me that something was probably going on with her and a guy from the office. She said they would often deliver work papers to each other's cubicle, but she believed they were handwritten notes. They also ate lunch together in the small office kitchen every day. It seems they were trying to make it look like they were only coworkers, but there was something more to it. I couldn't believe how easy it was to gather intel from people, had I been blind. I wanted to check my wife's phone, but since I couldn't, I told her coworker about her Valentine's Day lie and how she was in a different neighborhood at that very moment. She asked if it was the Sunny Day development, and I was shocked that it was. She said AP lived there. She was at his house once for a party. I showed her the exact spot my wife's icon hovered over the neighborhood, and she said it was definitely close enough to be his house. I had enough. I thanked her and got off social media. I started throwing my wife's clothes and belongings out the window. Loose clothes were strewn all over the yard and roof. It started raining before she got home, and I thought karma was just giving me an extra hand. I wrote a note to put on our front door that read, "Happy Valentine's Day. Don't bother coming back ever again." When she got home late, I could hear her screaming and freaking out. She banged on the door, rang the doorbell a whole bunch, but I barricaded myself inside. I heard her on the phone with her mom, and then her dad, and from what I could hear, it sounded like they couldn't believe she was locked out of her own house with her clothes all over the yard. She kept saying she didn't know why, but eventually broke down and said she lied to me and had a date with someone else, so she needed her dad's help taking all her stuff somewhere. I imagine they asked her why she did this because all she said was she didn't know. She didn't want to tell me in case I freaked out and stuff like that. She sounded like a pitiful little girl that made a shameful decision to lie and cheat on her husband, believing she could get away with it. And now she was forced to semi-admit to what she'd done over the phone with her dad so that he could come to her rescue. He showed up and I came outside. I told them both what I found out, all while my wife was gone. She was crying and telling me I was exaggerating and jumping to conclusions. I put her on the spot to prove I was lying by showing me the messages she had with AP. I knew his real name, and her face turned pale when I asked. She said she didn't have any messages with him, but I could see her father's disappointment. I asked him if he thought she was lying because he knew her the best, and he was embarrassed to say yes. She started screaming and wailing and dropped to the ground. I told her to suck it up because she was a big girl who made the decision to cheat on me and lie this Valentine's Day. Now she had to face the consequences of her big girl decision. She was devastated. I could tell she didn't want our marriage to end that night. She didn't want it to end. She wouldn't ever step foot into our house again. She didn't get to say goodbye to our dog. It's lucky I never had children with her because that would have been heart-wrenching. Let this be a lesson to think through your actions before betraying the one person that matters most in your life. No actions go without repercussions. She stayed with her parents for a while, but they were extremely disappointed in her and couldn't believe a word she said. She didn't get to leave their house at all, unless it was for work, and she wasn't welcome back if she was 5 minutes past her expected return. OP, I am so sorry your wife betrayed you on Valentine's Day. Of course, it's just the same as any other day, but since it's become notorious for true love, it adds insult to injury. I'm so glad you did some sleuthing to figure out what was going on. I'm glad the girl she used as part of her lie stepped forward, without even knowing your wife brought her into it. Your ex turned a kind gesture into a lie you couldn't believe. No one can maintain a relationship with that kind of dishonesty. Can you even imagine how hard it would be to have a healthy relationship with her after this? Your ex needs to mature a little and learn how important it is to remain loyal and honest in her relationships. Without that, she doesn't deserve the benefits of a romantic partnership. As hard as it was, you took the right steps to distance yourself from this girl. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.